Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Nelson. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to share our family's hearing journey. So, I'll start off with a few introductions. That is me in the middle with the mustache. My mom and sister are behind me. To our right is my older son, Zion, and the little guy holding the blow dryer to my mustache is my younger son, Malachi. Since tomorrow is Zion's birthday, I figured he is the story we should start with. So, when Zion was 4, he had clear speech. He answered me even when his back was turned. I thought he was functioning the way he always had. However, as I began to think things over, I realized the doctor just may be right. The question was, what do I do now? How do I handle this to make things better for my child? Zion was born in March of 2003. After a difficult pregnancy, I was beyond happy to be over that phase of life. All I wanted to do was hold him, love him, kiss him, and be a mom. He passed all of the tests that the hospital gave him with flying colors. Everything was as normal as any natural post delivery state could be. Zion hit all developmental milestones on time, if not before. By the time Zion was 4, he had a large working vocabulary and read independently. He was quite the conversationalist. When he was about 4 months old, I broke eye contact with him when I was holding a conversation with my mom, and Zion was not a happy camper. I learned quickly that he had opinions and needed to be a part of every discussion. In the spring of 2007, Zion's cousin with Down syndrome moved to Virginia and they started playing with each other or spending a lot of time together. Soon after, I noticed changes in Zion's speech and attentiveness. I didn't give it much thought because I thought that he was mimicking his cousin's behaviors. My mom noticed changes in him as well and self diagnosed him with autism. I made an appointment with his pediatrician to express my concerns. The pediatrician didn't think that he was autistic, but suggested that we give him a hearing test. So we went down the hall, put him in a booth at the pediatrician's office, and he passed that test with flying colors. A few days later, Zion's preschool teacher told me that she noticed he was continuously asking for affirmation relating to simple tasks. She stated, I keep telling him to put something in the trash. He'll walk over to the trash and say, here. I'm not sure why he keeps asking me for help on things I know he understands. Soon after that, we were playing in the backyard on the swings. Higher, mommy, higher, Zion laughed. Turkey in the straw played in the high-pitched bells of an ice cream truck. Zion jumped off the swing as the truck passed, driving down our cul-de-sac. Mommy, I need my wallet, he yelled. He ran into the house. He rushed back out and onto the swing, eagerly awaiting the truck to circle back. This was going to be the test. With my heart pounding in fear, I asked him if he wanted to play hide and seek while we waited the truck to come back. He eagerly agreed. I had him cover his eyes and count while I hid. The truck came by and turned, making a right out of our neighborhood. He hadn't heard the song. I fought back the tears. As he opened his eyes, he asked me why I hadn't hidden. I didn't have an answer he would understand. After about 10 minutes of playing, He looked at me and asked when the ice cream truck was coming back. Now over the past few months, Now everything over the past few months made sense. Sitting really close to the TV, holding his leapfrog really close to his ear, asking confirmation on simple tasks. In that moment, I knew something was going on with his ears, but I had no idea the extent of his diagnosis. I made an appointment with an ENT for a hearing test. He failed that test with flying colors. I didn't understand. He had just passed a hearing test, the exact same type of hearing test at that, with the physician. The thoughts ran through my mind. No, I don't believe you. I need a second opinion. This doesn't make any sense. Dude, you're crazy. It was recommended that we come back to the office and take an ABR. I had no idea what an ABR was, but they said it didn't hurt and it was a more accurate test. So, of course, we came in. A few days after the ABR, in October of 2007, we went back for the results. The doctor walked in the room, sat on his chair, looked at me intensely, and said, "There's nothing we can do for him. Your son has a sensorineural hearing loss, and he needs a cochlear implant." Say what? I had no idea what a cochlear implant was. That was the absolute first time I had ever heard those words, and they made absolutely no sense to me. I remember feeling confused. He explained the device a little, but he told me he didn't work with people like my son, and I needed to take him to see someone else. Well, what about a hearing aid? I asked. Can we try a hearing aid? He replied, "It's no point. A hearing aid isn't going to do anything for him." Then he walked out of the room. That was it. That's all he said. He said it so matter-of-factly. No empathy, no feeling. I sat there, feeling alone and confused. I made an appointment which led to about 5 or 10 more appointments with other specialists, speech pathologists, a geneticist, CT scans, a special school. I remember everything moving so fast because everyone kept telling me he needed to be implanted before he turned 5, which was only 6 months. Everyone kept saying that if he didn't get his implant before he turned 5, his success rate would be so much lower. I felt pressured to make a life-changing decision for my son with only the limited information I was able to find on Google and information I had been fed from hearing adults who earned a living profiting from my decision to implant my son. After consulting with another ENT, my cousin, who is an anesthesiologist, and another cousin who has hearing loss, I accepted the fact that Zion did have hearing loss and made the decision to have him implanted. I was a 24-year-old single mother. I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. How was I going to pay for this implant? How am I going to pay for years of speech therapy? How can I make sure he makes it to all of his appointments and keep a job? I hit the internet and found Chattering Children, which at the time felt like a godsend. So, 3 days after Zion's 5th birthday, in March, he had his first cochlear implant surgery. 6 months later, he had his second. That was a day in October, and also the day I discovered I was pregnant with Malachi. My pregnancy with Malachi was a bit easier than my pregnancy with Zion. Malachi was born in June of 2009, but unlike Zion, Malachi did not pass any of his newborn hearing tests. I was told that since he had a deaf sibling, the hospital would make him an automatic fail. So, in order to get true results, I needed to take him to an ENT. That was fine with me, but first I had to do my own test. One day, when Malachi was asleep, I went to the kitchen and got a pan and a spoon. I walked over to his playpen and banged them together. He did not move. So when he failed his ABR, it was a very familiar place for me. I expected him to fail the APR after he didn't move from the test that I performed. Zion had prepared me to handle his brother's condition. Malachi was fitted with hearing aids at 3 months. He also started the early intervention program in Chesterfield County, as well as speech therapy. Shortly after his first birthday, he received his first cochlear implant. 6 months after that, he received his second cochlear implant. Unfortunately, that second cochlear implant had a failure almost immediately after being implanted. Malachi ended up leaking spinal fluid from his nose and ended up being in the hospital in an induced coma for about a week and had to go through 2 more surgeries in order to stop the spinal fluid leakage. Because I'm crying like a baby, I want to take a moment now to talk about provider support. Providers play such a vital role throughout this whole process. And I want to stress the importance of making sure you, as a provider, whether it be a speech therapist, an audiologist, or early intervention specialist, whatever capacity you are dealing with these families, that you always provide an unbiased, you have an unbiased approach when educating your parents. Make sure you create an atmosphere that allows parents the freedom to choose for their child and support parents in whatever decision it is that they choose. When Malachi was about 2 years old, we were visiting a local speech therapist. And that speech therapist for auditorial verbal therapy kept covering her mouth. It was extremely frustrating to Malachi, and I could see him shutting down. Where I did want him to learn and gain speech, oral speech, spoken language, I never felt as if he should be pushed in a session to tears to the point that he didn't want to come back to the space, considering we needed to come to speech therapy twice a week. And so when I saw that he was shutting down, I said to the speech therapist, "Don't cover your mouth. He doesn't like it." She tells me that if he was going to do speech therapy, that's what she was going to do, that I couldn't tell her how to run her practice. And so it kind of became a showdown between the two of us. It is important that providers understand that they are providing a service. It is important that parents understand that they have the right to choose another provider if that provider is not giving them the service or treatment that they deserve. There are other people out there that will provide the service. It took me years and probably two kids that had the same diagnosis to understand the power that I have as a patient and making sure that I am treated and my kids are treated fairly as a patient. So, now I'm going to go back and finish up with the boys because I'm not crying anymore. Um, Today, Malachi is 10 and he is an honor roll student. He plays, well, he's on a bowling league. I guess he doesn't play bowling. He's on a bowling league and has a really good average, actually. His average is about 78, which is higher than it was last year when he first started. He has a ton of friends. He's pretty much the man on campus when he goes to school. He uses total communication. That is the method that we decided was best for our family. Zion will be 17 tomorrow. He is fully mainstreamed. He is taking dual enrollment courses in the 11th grade. He plans to go to Rochester Institute of Technology and major in video game design, like most 16-year-old boys probably want to do. He also is on the bowling league and is an honor roll student. He has participated in the debate team. He is vice president of his Latin club. He is a founding member of his school's video game club. There was a time that I was absolutely afraid of what tomorrow looked like, and I was in a dark cloud of what if, I don't know, what is happening, what's next. And I want to reassure parents that the diagnosis of hearing loss is by far not the end of the world. No matter what decision you make, I should say, there will be complications, but there's no limits on what your child can do. You are absolutely your child's best advocate. Don't let anyone make you feel like being deaf is a showstopper. It absolutely is not. And they have absolutely full lives. It kind of sounds cliche, but it absolutely is. The only thing that a deaf kid can't do is hear. And the truth is, sometimes they like not hearing. They'll take off their implants, like to study for an exam or to take a test or something. So they absolutely learn how to use all of this stuff for their benefit. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I thank you guys for listening. Have a great day.